Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Falcon Blues podcast. I'm joined by Anthony. All right, Ant?
Good evening, Barney.
And we're
Good
joined
evening,
tonight
Jim.
because you've been waiting for years for someone called Jim to come on here so you can do that.
Made my
Years.
night.
Hi, Jim. Nice one for coming on, mate. You okay? Oh, you there, Jim?
Sorry, yeah, can you hear me all right?
Can hear you now, yeah. Just saying thanks for coming on.
No worries.
We're joined with Jim today, who's wrote a few books, such as Everton's number 9 players, one iconic shirt, punk football. I do believe that you're in the middle of writing another book, and I believe that a certain list is going in that book.
Yeah, Paul's list is going in that book, or the top 10 from that list are going in, and that should hopefully be out in a few weeks.
Brilliant. Where can people find that book, Jim?
So it'll just be available on Amazon, but it's I'm just currently there's loads of facts in it, so I'm going through the sake of fact checking at the moment. So once I'm done and I know there's definitely no mistakes in it, then I'll get it out.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'll have to have a little read of that, especially with Paulie Cruz list going in. So I think today, we're going to be discussing a Brentford prediction. Talk about Sean Dyche, his future with regards to the 777. Does he have one? Is he in their plans? And then obviously 777. There must be an upside. Is there an upside? Can we find one? And Sean Dyche's tactics, are they too negative for Everton Football Club? So I suppose maybe a little recap as well on the Arsenal game. So, Ant, what was your thoughts on the Arsenal game?
It was a disaster. It was. We just did. It was men against boys. It was like when you see the FA Cup in January, when you see the top teams against the minnows. That's what it was like. We just didn't get anywhere near them. I'll forgive. Not being anywhere near them football wise. They've spent a few £100 million on top footballers, Declan Rice, ability to bring players on like Jesus. That 5 substitute rule just can change the game, especially for these top teams. But one thing I won't forgive is being outworked and outfought, and it was just a bad day all around for Everton Football Club, and I'm just getting bored, really, Barney.
Yeah, I mean, even though we were getting outclassed on the pitch, and they were passing it around, like we weren't even there. At 65 minutes, we were still in that game, and he decides to go obviously we can touch on this later, but what really done my head in was that we were in the game for 65 minutes, and on them 65 minutes, he brings Calvert-Lewin on for Beto as a straight swap. For me, an Everton team at home, we go for it with 25 minutes to go. If 25 minutes to go, that game ended 1-0, and for them 25 minutes, we've had a game plan of stay in the game and let's go for it. Fine. I walk away disappointed to get beat, but I walk away thinking at least we had to go. As you said, we got outfought, we got outplayed, we got outrun, and as you say, it was just an absolute disaster. What were your thoughts on it, Jim?
I totally agree. I mean, I think you want to see an Everton team try and compete, especially at home. I know Arsenal are light years ahead of us, really, and we aren't going to compete in a kind of football sense. But I'd rather lose 2 or 3-0 and give the crowd something to feed off and really have a go at them than just kind of limp along. It was really it was kind of a properly insipid display and like humiliating, really. I mean, I don't think like player for player we are that bad compared to Arsenal. They're obviously better across the park than us, but I think our players are being made to be seen worse than they are by kind of the manager's setup. I think it's I think boring is the right word. I think at the moment, the kind of Sean Dyche football in certain games is really making the crowd feel bored, and that's not what you want. You need to we need our home form, especially to kind of work for us. If you're giving the fans nothing to kind of feed off, then you lose potentially one of your biggest assets this season.
massively. And we may as well go on to the tactics now. And Sean Dyche is too negative, I suppose. Do Everton have a style under Sean Dyche? What is our style? Are we just out and out, 2 blocks of 5, try break us down? Are we a counter side? I'm certainly not going to call us a footballing side because I don't think in the 5 games we've strung 3 passes together.
I mean, when he came in, he promised us a team that were going to work, didn't he? And he said, I believe in one of his first press conferences, that you'd see effort from them. And so far this season, I really haven't seen a great deal of effort and an up and at 'em football team. Are we negative? I mean, he talked today in his interview about playing 4-4-2. So 4-4-2 to me isn't negative. It's old-fashioned sort of attacking football. But I very much doubt he's going to risk going 4-4-2 away at Brentford.
We've not got the midfielders for 4-4-2 anyway.
We haven't got the midfield for 4-5-1, let alone 4-4-2. Yeah, yeah, you're completely right. So, I mean, it was boring when he was a manager at Burnley. He just about kept them in the league, and I think his tactics are at the moment to just about keep us in the Premier League. So. Yeah, I mean, just as I said before, and Jim picked up on it, he's boring.
What do you think, Jim? What's your opinions on Sean Dyche's tactics? Do you feel he's too negative for an Everton manager? Do you feel he's too negative as a modern day manager? Is he a dinosaur of a manager now?
I think what worries me is that after 7 months in the job, he keeps saying it's a work in progress. So I think by now you should have an idea of what that work in progress is. I think really kind of 7 months in, I still don't really know what a Sean Dyche Everton team is going to be. Apart from the fact that we're probably not going to be on the front foot. So I think you're right. He is probably kind of, a manager maybe from the past, and he doesn't play the kind of football that cuts it in the Premier League anymore. I think when he came in, the idea was really he was going to be a safe pair of hands, and he wouldn't deliver necessarily exciting football, and he would produce what Burnley produced for years, which was relatively tedious football. But at least it would keep you okay. You'd maybe finish like 14th, but during this kind of period of turmoil, he'd kind of get us through it. But actually, he's not even delivering on that score at the moment. There's no kind of, in no way is he's it's not. We're not exciting. We're not robust. We are all we are from kind of Burnley areas that would be like definitely boring to watch, but we're not safe. So we're into September and he's got us a point, which is like. He's offering nothing so far. I mean, if this continues, he's kind of edging into like Mike Walker territory, but also being boring. So it's deeply worrying.
Right now, he's at 26.5% win ratio. There is only Mike Walker with a worse ratio.
Yeah, I mean that's usually kind of the yardstick for Everton managerial failure. Nobody's as bad as Walker. So if he's in danger of taking that crown off somebody, that's deeply worrying.
It is.
And his set pieces, my God!
Why assist with Ashley Young? Why?
I mean, what are they doing every day in training? I mean, it's absolutely horrendous. Some of the worst football I have ever seen.
Honestly, right? I'd be quite happy for him just to say to Tarkowski and Branthwaite, we've got 2 6'4" strikers, just fucking whack it up to them and get round them. But the problem is, we're that deep because he's got us so defensive. Our midfield can't get up there behind them. I felt so bad for Beto on Sunday and Calvert-Lewin when it came on, I suppose, to a certain extent, because there was balls getting knocked up to them, and Beto won the majority of his headers. And they were just dropping to the other centre half or to their fullbacks. And it was just, he was so isolated. He was chasing shadows. And so was Calvert-Lewin when they come on. It was just, as you say, it was just a disaster. And I can't see him putting any sort of identity on this football team. I really can't. He's talking about balance. you're not going to get balance with just a kind of game in the midfield because it's going to be unbalanced because he's got no legs. He can't find a blue shirt unless he puts James Garner in there, and even Decore, he just runs around like a headless chicken. Oh, and then obviously Dave and Paulie had a little to do, didn't he? Had a little disagreement over Onana. I feel that Onana's getting a bit the stick a bit more than the other two, but I think Onana doesn't help himself by being the cheerleader and making one tackle and giving it the beans to the crowd. That's not helping him, and he is just drifting through games at the minute. You'd expect someone like Onana to be the main man, wouldn't you? The dominant one, the one who's running that midfield, but he's just not. So I just can't. I just don't know. I don't know I don't know where Sean Dyche is seeing balance, and I don't see where Sean Dyche is seeing an identity. I really don't.
I mean, you talk about Onana drifting through games. I don't even think he's doing that much. I mean, he was so out of his depth on Saturday. I mean, looking forward to Brentford now. Maybe we should start talking about that. Try and put this one to bed. I mean, how do you feel about Brentford on Saturday, Jim? Are you positive? Barney's a bit more of a glass half full man, and I'm obviously the opposite. So maybe you can balance us out. How do you feel looking forward to the weekend?
Well, I mean, we don't travel well, do we, at the best of times? So, Brentford, when they came up, you'd imagine that would have been, an away point or maybe an away win. But at the moment, I don't see how that. At the moment, you can't see this Everton team winning the game. That's what he's made. They don't seem to have it in them to get over the line. I don't think Dyche can get a hold of them properly. So you're traveling to a team that are, well set up with a manager who's been there a while. It's become now a tough place for a team like us to go to. So, optimistically, I mean, I'm also probably a glass half empty kind of fan, but optimistically, you're thinking, can we get a point there? But realistically, at the moment, the way Everton are playing, I can't see anything from the game, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think.
I know you're saying I'm a glass half full there, Ant, but I'm with you on this one, especially Brentford scare me because they've got pace. Anyone with pace around Everton Football Club, we're going to get ruined. And they've got abundance of pace at the wings. I know the bit out of Ivan Toney, but that hasn't stopped them scoring goals, has it? And we can't stop people scoring goals against us. Last season, we towards the end, Tarkowski looked solid at the end. I don't know what's happened, but even him, he's gone off the boil a little bit this season. I think I just don't know. I just don't know what's happened in pre-season and the first 5 games. We're clearly lacking confidence. As you say, Jim, Brentford coming up, you'd expect at least a point going away from home. But Thomas Frank has them playing great, and I just don't think we'll be able to match them. I really don't.
I mean, this is a good football club. They are the complete opposite of Everton Football Club. They're a club in unity. If it wasn't for Brighton and maybe Newcastle sort of overachieving in the last 12 to 18 months, a lot more would have been written about Brighton Football Club. Yeah. They lost a goalkeeper in the summer to Arsenal. It was like, okay, so what? Let's go and just get the next fella we scouted. Now, I can guarantee you now, when, and it is a when Jordan Pickford leaves this football club in the next 18 months, we will not be able to recruit anyone to replace him like they have done.
No.
The manager there, Thomas Frank, I think he was on Sky on Monday night. I mean, he spoke so well, talked about wanting to improve all the time, analyse and evaluate, the games and progress and do well. I believe he's got a mentor as well. I mean, it's fresh, it's exciting, and it's exactly the opposite of this football club, sadly.
Yeah, it's really depressing being a Blue at the minute again. I mean, it's just like the last 2.5 years has just been really in the shitters. It really has. Where you were saying about like Thomas Frank being exciting, Could Sean Dyche turn as exciting? Do you know what? I've just said could he, and I'm going right back to being negative towards him again here. But he's come out again today in his press conference saying Jack Harrison is back on. If I hear that man say back on grass again, I'm going to hit the roof. Jack Harrison, he's back on the grass. He's doing really well, but he's not ready. How can he not be ready? He's trained for 2 full weeks now on grass, which he loves, with his shin pads on and no snuds. Fuck me. The only way a footballer gets match fit is by playing football matches. If you're not going to give him that chance, put him on the bench. Give him 20 minutes. Give him a fucking chance, though. Ooh. Pisses me off. My prediction for Brentford, by the way, I'm going for a 2-0 home win because I can't see nothing. I can't see us creating anything up front for the strikers. And we've got 2 strikers now, and I still can't see us scoring.
Jim, what's your prediction?
Oh, I agree. I think 2-0. I can't see us getting anything from the game. I can't see us creating. I think Brentford are far too well drilled to be troubled by this Everton team at the moment. So, it'd be another defeat, and it puts us kind of 1 point from how many games? 6 games? Is it 7 games?
Yeah.
It'd be the 6th game.
I mean, and then what happens next then? Because then you kind of you're properly talking about a relegation fight season, aren't you? Then really, so like, is that? I mean, realistically, how long do you give Dyche? If he gets 1 point from 6 games, like that's most managers lose their jobs, don't they?
We can't be doing what we done with Lampard last season and leaving it as late as we did.
No.
But the thing is now, who sacks him?
yeah. I know.
Honestly, who sacks him? There's rumours going around that Farhad Moshiri hasn't spoke to anybody at the club in weeks.
Yeah. I think he's done, isn't he? Moshiri seems to be just finished. He just wants to get rid of the club as fast as he can to whoever is willing to pay.
He's genuinely not asked, is he? And apparently as well, he's selling us a little bit on the cheap. So he's not going to get any money back. Well, he's not going to get all his money back, but he's having a condition where if Everton do well, these Cowboys from America have to pay him.
He's safe there, I think, because Everton won't do well. So.
Exactly, yeah, and judging by the 777 records, they don't seem to do really well being owners of football clubs. If you look at Hertha Berlin, they got relegated. I know that when they took over, Hertha Berlin were already rock bottom of the Bundesliga, but they don't seem to be doing great in their first division. Minority within Seville, minority sharing of Seville, but again, Seville aren't setting the world alight over there. I listened to a podcast the other day with someone from Melbourne Victory. He was like, he's there, somebody runs a fan page for them, and he was just saying how bad it's been since they took over. There's been not one penny of investment into the club. They've actually they bought. Listen to this. They bought Melbourne Victory for £8.7 million, and in 3 years, because they give them a loan, they give them. He couldn't remember how much the loan was, but it was only a small loan. They give the club a loan, and in 3 years, they can walk away from Melbourne Victory with £30 million. The club have to pay them £30 million if they choose to walk away 3 years because
it's not good, is it?
Yeah, do you know what? Right, you're probably going to be surprised with what I'm going to say here about 777, but nothing was written at all when Farhad Moshiri took over this football club at all. No one knew anything, did he really, other than this billionaire's turned up from Arsenal.
Other than the fact that Arsenal wouldn't let him spend his money.
Yeah.
Now we know.
Yeah, okay, right. Just bear with me for a minute, right? But why aren't the papers writing anything about Bill Kenwright overseeing the longest period of like financial degradation this football club's ever had. I mean, why is no one in the media writing about Bill Kenwright rather than 777? At the moment, 777 have done absolutely nothing to Everton Football Club other than giving us 20 million quid, because we're clearly in financial problems. Why? Because Mashiri and Bill Kenwright have continually ran this football club into the ground. They're the 777 are going to be here now. They're one of the reasons they're going to be here is because people were marching last year and protesting. Get rid of the chairman, get rid of the CEO, get rid of Grant Ingles, get rid of Graham Sharp. This is what we wanted. We're not going to get a shake. We're not going to get, a big financial conglomerate taking us over. And sadly, this is where we are. But at the moment, they've got a blank slate with me. They really have. And let's hope and pray they can turn it around. But the real villain here is Bill Kenwright and Farhad Mashiri, because his reign has been nothing but disastrous. If you could turn back clocks now and then not take over the club, I think everyone would want that, wouldn't they?
I suppose his only legacy within this football club will be that stadium. That's his only legacy. Everything else is absolute shambles.
But at what cost? We might not be in this league, in this division, because of him. I mean,
I suppose let's say that we do stay in the Premier League, and August next year we're all in a shiny new stadium, and that will be his legacy, I suppose.
He was trying to impress his mates on yachts as the agent mates by signing players. The players that we've wasted money on because of him. He had no plan from the start. That getting Carlo Ancelotti. Don't get me wrong, Carlo Ancelotti. I thought that was the start of a new phase in our football club, but it clearly wasn't, and it's one of the reasons why we're in such a mess now, because we overspent massively and the pandemic hit. But Farhad Mashiri, the man's a lunatic. Ringing up Jim White. It's just, does any other owner do that? They don't, do they? It's just absolute lunacy. And the quicker he is out the door, the better.
He's the thickest billionaire in this world.
How is he a billionaire? I don't get. How has he managed to make money when I wouldn't trust him to run like a jumble sale.
He's an accountant.
It just seems so unbelievably incompetent. How has he made money in life?
Do you know how I think it is, Jim? He was Usmanoff's accountant, wasn't he?
Correct.
And I think Usmanoff has just been giving him little dropsies where every now and then he's managed to swindle tax, or he's managed to swindle a bit more, and then he give him
allegedly. Let's not be alleging any sort of high treason here.
This is my theory. This is my theory, everyone.
Alleged theory.
and then he's given him a share within USM. Because does USM stand for Usmanoff, Sati, and Mashiri?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? So, and then he's got involved.
You pronounce that very well, Barney.
Thanks. He's got involved in that, and then that deal's gone absolutely massive, and that's how he's made his money. But that man is just an accountant. He's obviously got no business skills whatsoever, and it's come to clear daylight the minute Usmanoff and all the Russians were exiled from the country because of the war.
Just while we're on this upbeat topic, Jim, obviously you've written a number of books about Everton and the history. How do you think this compares to sort of the 90s as a period in our football club and in the history?
I think that's a good question. I was thinking in the week, thinking when was the worst. So go on.
Sorry, Jim. Go on. Sorry, Jim.
No, I was just saying. I was thinking about this in the week. When was the worst time to be an Evertonian in our history? Because you can, we've had like the 50s, we were relegated, which must have been awful, and like in the 70s, we had Liverpool's golden age, which must have been like horrible to live through. In the 90s, we had like the possibility of the club going bust. You had Peter Johnson cutting off the funds. We had barely several deaths. It was we had relegation dogfights several seasons. But I still think in the 90s, I don't know, there was a novelty to it, which probably helped. And there was a sense that I think we felt the club wouldn't go under. like right now, there's a worry that what happens if we get relegated like this season? Like what happens to the club? Do we end up in administration? Do we keep the stadium? Do you have to flog it? Do we become like Leeds and spend years down in the championship? I think I think now is probably the worst time to be a Blue, because you've got like a material threat to the existence of the club for the first time properly. I think on the back of having kind of our hopes dashed, because for years we wanted investment, admin in the side, and when Machete came, we thought this is it. This will be our transition to like a Champions League team. We'll spend. We've been the best of the rest, and this will push us on. And in space, we're going to go under. Who's going to own us? That kind of transition is difficult to bear. A lot of Evertonians. So I think right now, these last 2 years, I reckon must be the worst time to ever be an Evertonian.
I tend to agree. I think Farad Nashiri makes Peter Johnson look like one of the best owners Everton have ever had. I think they do.
And that for me, Barney, is why all the sevens have got a blank canvas with me, because this fella needs to get out the door. I think for the reasons that Jim's just said. Then the quicker he's gone, the quicker we can move on with someone else.
Yeah,
because he's the real threat to our existence at the moment.
So I've been listening about this 777, and I've done not much reading up on them, but I've done a tiny bit, only probably as much as everyone else. It seems to me they're in businesses to make money. That's their only game, is to make money. I think this is their opportunity. They're going to buy us on the cheap off Farad Mashiri, and then they're going to sort the grounds out. Once we're in that ground within 18 months, they're going to sell us for a nice profit, as long as that obviously we're still in the Premier League. And I think that's what they're seeing. I think that's their plan. Their plan is we're going to get in here and we're going to flip it. It's going to be like buying a house on Homes Under the Hammer. They're going to strip the walls, give it a fresh bit of paint, new flooring, and then get it back on the market. So I think that to me that's the upside to them. I think they're going to flip it. I think that's what they're going to do.
Well, listen, if they turn us around, I'm all for that, because at the bottom, at the moment, have we bottomed? I hope so. If they can turn us around and get us going again, I think it'll take more than a lick of paint, Barney, though.
Yeah, some new plaster in then as well. A few new ceilings. But
yeah, can he play centre half?
I suppose as well. I seen, was it you, Mike, that put in the group about their CEO is the ex City Group CEO.
No, I didn't know that. I did know that the owner money in an airline in Australia called Flair Airlines.
No, Bonza Airlines, isn't it?
I thought there was another one called Flair. And
Flair apart. They done a joint with Flair. Bonza is Flair and them. And
in my research, I've seen that Flair had the most complaints of any airline going. So, I was going to say you couldn't write it, Jim, but you really can, can't you?
Yeah, you really can, yeah, definitely.
Let me just try and find this a minute about the CEO. I see it is, yeah. So, where is it? 777 CEO Dons John Field was also at Finch Farm this week, a figure who could end up being significant at Everton in regards to the club's strategy. He's the former Chief Strategy Officer for the City Football Group, and that's from the Liverpool Echo.
Well, that's promising. They're a company in their infancy, aren't they? And maybe they've learned the lessons with those other clubs. But I just hope that we're not going to be another chapter in one of Jim's books.
I Well, we're definitely already going to be a chapter in his book, aren't we, with regards to the last 2 years? I think Jim could write a whole book on the last 2 years.
Oh, definitely. You could do like highs, well, not highs, lows, and Michaelenko was probably that'd be
or even the Everton bingo, and just do who had Farad Machini being an absolute lunatic on the Everton bingo and everything else that's gone on over the last few years. Headlock Gate, absolutely unbelievable. It really is. Have you heard anything about 777, Jim? Have you done any research on them? Do you know anybody that knows anything?
No, I know there was a good article written by I think it was Philip O'Clair, who kind of really explored their backstory and their what they were in football for. And they didn't come out of it looking particularly good, but I, as you said before, they are in it to make money, and they will want a business that functions well. I imagine. I mean, Everton haven't been run well as a business, I think, as long as I can recall. Even in the 80s, we weren't particularly run well. We won stuff, but we were always behind our peers. And obviously in the 90s, we kind of really fell behind. So if someone can come in and run everything properly, even at the commercial side, not just the football side. I mean, we're exceptionally badly run business. So, I don't mind if you get some slick American who comes in and is obsessed with the bottom line. As long as that's what they are. If they're coming in just to kind of asset strippers and kind of just cream off as much as they can from everything, that's a different issue. But it's I don't mind somebody coming in and running everything properly. I think, if done well with the new stadium, Everton could be a really decent business. But it's just, we haven't had a good owner or a good chairman for, probably since Philip Carter, really. And even then, Everton were a bit patchy commercially. But Peter Johnson was a mess. Ken Wright has really let the club slide into mediocrity, and and Machiri is just a lunatic, isn't he? So it's I don't what you read. It's not great, really, but. As you said, they're a young company. Maybe they're learning their lessons, and if they're slick and they want Everton run properly, and even if it is just to flip us down the line, 18 months, if in that time we put back on kind of a more even keel and we address our problems, we start kind of improving as a business, well, that's fine. If they make money and we make money and we sort ourselves out, then that's a perfectly fine relationship. It's just that, when you read their history, that's not always been the case.
No, it hasn't, has it? No. Yeah, I suppose then, on this happy note, hopefully next weekend we'll have a bit of positivity. But, I mean...
Yeah, maybe Dyche will be gone.
Yeah, they've genuinely sucked the positivity out of me. And as you know, I've been one of the most positive ones. Yeah,
but it's a good thing you got me to pump your tyres back up, isn't it?
Oh, I'm telling you. But Jim, thank you very much for your time.
No worries.
At the end of our podcast, we always ask the guests 2 random questions. So I suppose my first question is going to be to you. If I was to give you the time machine, what's the one game that you'd love to go back and watch? Any football game in the history of football?
Can it be one I've watched before?
Yeah, it can be anything. Yeah, whatever.
Right,
yeah,
but I just because of what it was, and it wasn't like successful. But I loved Wimbledon in '94.
Everything about it, even the coach getting burnt out before the game.
The whole. I mean, he shouldn't really like games like that, but just the story. I've never been that low in a game and then ended it that high. Never know anything like it. Like I lost my voice, lost my mind by the end. It was just an incredible afternoon. Even though it's we didn't win a cup or a league. So actually, it's a shit game really, but just one of the best 90 minutes of football I've ever experienced in my life.
Brilliant. Neville Southall told a funny story about that game when he come to the Falcon, and he said the crazy gang were lining up in the tunnel, and Vinnie Jones was captain, and he touched the Everton badge as they were walking out, and he turned round and shouted to the rest of the Wimbledon lads, "Touch this, lads, because these are going fucking down. You won't touch it again for fucking years." And Neville Southall said before he could throw a dig, I think it was Barry Orr. He said Barry Orr fucking laid into him, and there was absolute murder in the tunnel before they came out onto the pitch. And my second question is, what's your favourite book that you've read to date? And it could be for any reason.
That about from my books, yeah.
Yeah, from your book, yeah.
I really liked writing Highs, Lows, and Bakayoko's. I think I kind of, because I was the 90s was like my formative years as a Blue. They're like my teen years when I really I was going to the game all the time with my mates, and it was just and I know everyone was shit during them, but I weirdly I enjoyed it. There was some fantastic moments in there. Yeah, cup finals and some amazing derbies as well, and just to kind of relive that and just talk to other Blues who were around back then and talk to the players, which most players that wants to talk to were happy to be interviewed, and you get like a different point of view. So kind of just selfishly, I really enjoyed reliving those years, because people will say that the 90s was shit, and they were shit, but like there was also like a fantastic atmosphere at Goodison, especially after 94. Yeah. First part of the day was quite flat, but after 94, after Wimbledon, it just picked up, and it didn't really matter how crappy we were on the pitch. The crowd was there, and it was just it was a crap decade football wise, but I loved it.
Yeah, I loved the 90s. I mean, 94 was my first year to get a season ticket, and I've had one every year since. And I always remember the smell of Goodison Park from the 90s, and it's lost its smell, Goodison. I know that sounds a bit mad, but it's a completely and utterly different smell from what I can remember. I know that seems like such a weird statement to make, but when I was a kid and I walked into Goodison, the smell of the grass, the smell of the stadium, and as you say, the atmosphere, and maybe it was because I was sick, but the atmosphere was unbelievable as a kid. Yeah, I tend to agree with you about the 90s there. It was a cracking. I mean, as you say, my first season at 94, going forward through the 90s. Yeah, I enjoyed the 90s. The atmosphere was special back then.
Definitely.
But yeah, no, Jim, thanks very much for your input tonight. It's been great. Thank you.
No worries, anytime.
And hopefully, we'll get you back on in a couple of months, and hopefully we're in a better position and we're a bit more stable.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
And thank you very much,
Barney. Good evening, Jim. Good evening.
Yes.
Honestly, Jim, you have no idea how long he's waited to say that. Right, thanks.
Cheers,
everyone.
boys.
I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ta-ra.